What's up, everybody? My name is Bobby from Wedding Film School. If you're new here, welcome. If you guys have been here before, you know what we're doing today. Let's see, gotta get centered up in frame. Kind of impromptu, but I had a pocket of time, and I was like, you know what? We've been getting submissions still for wedding film reviews. We haven't done a review in a really long time. Jay and Jared have been moving their studio, and we've kind of been waiting for that to get totally finished. But I don't know. I thought, whatever, what the heck? I'll hop in. I'll do a couple reviews. I do have a limited amount of time, but I figure let's get through a few and see what we can fit in. And as always, guys, this is very much like a collaborative thing. So first and foremost, I am not the authority on wedding films. I've done this for a long time. I feel like I know what I'm talking about to a certain extent for sure. But I always want to hear what you guys think in the chat too. If there's things that you pick up on, things that you want to change, whatever. If you're in chat right now, do two things for me and help me out. Just say hey in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. I see a few in there already. And then also hit the like button for me. I would appreciate that. Those, it's dumb. I hate playing the game, but YouTube sees it and thinks, wants to see people interacting. So I would appreciate that. We are always taking links to videos. The chances, I would actually really like to do one where I, review one that is submitted in chat. We'll see if we get to that. We've never done it that way before, but I think it is actually possible. I think I could do it. I'm running the show by myself today, so that complicates things a little bit, but definitely submit them. I've pinned the link to the top of the chat. There's a comment that says submit your wedding films here, and it's just on our website, which is weddingfilm.school, and then /live review, or you can just hit the live review tab, which is at the top. So yeah, definitely submit those. If you've got a film, whether it's recent or, the wedding season's been weird this year. We all know that, right? So, whether it's a couple weeks old or a handful of months old, that's fine too, as long as we haven't reviewed it. But very important, guys, our reviews priority goes to our members through YouTube. So if you are not a member already, you get some awesome benefits for doing so. You can it's right next to the subscribe button. It's the little join button. It does cost money, but we keep it very cheap for you guys. There are people out there charging $100 per live review. Our membership starts at $5 a month. Actually, it's $4.99. So we want to keep that accessible for you guys. That gives you priority in getting films reviewed. It gets you access to a private Facebook group with a little more access to me, Jay, and Jared. Although we try to be active on the main Wedding Film School group as well. And it gets you some other things that I can't think of off the top of my head. It gets you some cool, little like logos and stuff you can use in chat. Things like that. Occasionally we do like live Q&As with members only. Things like that as well. So if you are not a member, we'd love to have you as a member. Not required. You can still get a film reviewed without being a member, but our priority goes to our members first. So, less likely unless you're a member to get a film reviewed. But yeah, for like $5 a month, you guys can get a film reviewed. We're going to try and do this. We were doing it every week until Jay and Jared had to move their studio. And now we are trying to get back on the wagon of every week. This one, of course, impromptu, but Collaborative Kiwi, what's up? Cool, you got one coming up. Are you shooting in a few weeks, or you're going to have the edit done in a few weeks? Let me know. Also, everybody who's here, what are you guys working on? I've done a few live hangs where I've been editing live and really just chatting and doing a Q&A. Also, let me know two things, guys, before we get into this first film. One, how are the levels? I didn't really test them. It looks good to me, but let me know if I'm quiet or too loud or something. And when we start the film, let me know for that as well. And then second, let me know timing, because we are going to change. We were doing Thursday evenings for the live wedding film reviews, but we are talking about changing that. So, I've been doing those live hangs kind of in the afternoon of weekdays. So today is Monday. I haven't done a Monday yet. I've also done it usually earlier, closer to like noon Central Time or something. So yeah, what times work for you? Like, we want to cater it to when people are going to show up. Now this one kind of spur of the moment, so we didn't really advertise it at all or send an email out or anything like that. So probably won't have a whole lot of viewers, but that's fine. But yeah, let us know what works for you. Without further ado, though, we are going to jump into our first film. Cool, Sky, what's up? Thanks for letting me know. Glad to know the levels are perfect. So we like to do a few things when we do a live review. You guys submit it to us. These are all films from this community, people who watch our content and this live review show and are active in the Facebook group and stuff like that, and members and stuff like that as well. So this first one comes from Justin, I'm going to butcher this last name, Doherty. Actually, that's probably not that bad. That's probably what it is. I think it's Justin Doherty Films. Let me see here. It is indeed. Submitted through, I think this is a VidFlow or something like that. Yeah, this is VidFlow. So this is my first time actually seeing VidFlow, which is kind of cool. But we always like to ask for some background info if you're willing to provide it. You don't have to, but what was it shot on? Anything that stands out from the day, stuff like that. What did they order? So Justin says, and while I take a sip. All right. This was shot on a Canon R6, mostly with a Ronin gimbal. Big challenge was lighting in a lot of locations. Bride prep was done at a poorly lit environment. Even with natural lighting coming in, there was color cast, and that was tough to deal with in post. And then also the wind, it was a really windy day. He liked some of the sunset shots, and felt very meh on the day. I get that feeling. We've all been there, right? Shooting wedding, you leave the wedding, whatever, and you're just like, oh man, that just wasn't what I wanted it to be. It wasn't what I expected it to be, something like that. Felt like all the locations were more suited for photos instead of video. That definitely happens. I know a recent film comes to mind where I was like, man, I wish I could have shot, portrait orientation, because, I could, I guess, and do something creative, whatever. But I was like, man, a lot of these locations just really work for that and not so much for, 16:9 or 235:1 or whatever type of, landscape orientation you're doing. But anyway, we're going to watch it all the way through, and then I'll share my thoughts. I'd love to have you guys share your thoughts in comments as we're going or when we get to the review. But we do it different ways, different times, but that's how I'm going to do it this time. Just let it run in full, and then I'll pause it and talk through it. And this was a 5-minute highlight film. So, without further ado, let me, as I do everything by myself, let's get into it.
I got more than just words. I got more than just words. You bring me songs sweet like the birds. So I got more than just words.
I was doing so well.
I got peace in my mind. I got peace in my mind. Knowing that we've got the ties that bind gives me peace in my mind. The lights are so much brighter. The colors so much deeper. joy in my soul. I got joy in my soul. The fact that you're half of what's making me whole puts a little joy in my soul. And I got love in my heart. I got love in my heart. The promise that no man can tear us apart puts a lot of love in my heart. The lights are so much brighter. The colors so much deeper. I got more I can give, so much more I can give. 'Cause you pour and pour into me over again. Well, I got more I can give. The lights are so much brighter. The colors so much deeper. I've had my doubts, but they're all liars.
I like that shot.
Eye view, I see much clearer.
I like that shot too. I'm gonna keep my mic on low through this.
She's the
so I
most
can,
welcoming, honest, and loyal friend
Oh, there we go.
anybody could ever have.
So I can do
The
loose
love that you
commentary
guys have
right
for
now.
each other is really infectious. Whenever you spend time with these two, it's obvious that they were meant for each other.
You're exactly the man that Glenn and I prayed for our daughter to find. I think you're going to have an amazing life together, and a lifetime of happiness to Brian and Jenny.
You've gone well, my son, and right down to your choice of your beautiful bride. Our Jen has been with us for a long time. It warms my heart to see how she fits into our family. You're a strong and amazing person, and I am so proud of you.
Staff. Dang, that's pretty cool. Little like sparkler machine. There we go. Let me pause this. Okay. So I am going to play through it again and just talk while I play through it. I have no idea what the levels will be like, but I mainly want you to hear me. So overall, I think this is a good film. I think that I wish I had my mic on earlier and I would have commentated a little bit more while we were doing it without pausing it, though. I think you have some very solid shots. I actually disagree. Like, there were a couple things with the prep lighting where I was like, oh, maybe a little color cast. Like, it's a little bit cooler than your, you know, the look of the rest of your stuff. But I think if you wanted to push that to make it warmer and match better, you totally could. I think you could have pushed it further if that's what you wanted. I also think it's totally fine to kind of have it. You want a cohesive look overall, but if the prep is in a, like bluish grayish walled room, and the sunset shots are in a golden sunset, like it's going to look somewhat different. I think you could have used that lighting a little bit better maybe, but I actually don't think that those prep shots were, that bad. As far as like the shots themselves, maybe for some of like you had like a bunch of first looks, and some of that could maybe be a little bit different in just kind of how you utilize that light. But the main things that I think, and this might be a little quicker of a walkthrough, guys. The main things that I think, and I'll get into it when I play this, that you could really improve. Like if you're like, hey, I'm here, I'm happy, I'm charging whatever I'm charging, but I'd like to do better work, or I'd like to be able to charge more, or, whatever it is that you might want to do. Your audio is a big one, and it's both in the quality, the quality of the audio, the decisions about the audio, so kind of in the editing sense, I would say. So it's kind of both of those, in that, for example, you're definitely using a lot of on-camera audio. I think that can work. I've used on-camera audio. I'm pretty sure it's on-camera because it sounds pretty noisy. I might throw a little on-camera audio in if it's clean enough, which I don't think a lot of yours were. Or, it's like when the bridesmaids turn around to reveal the bride the first time they see him, and then they all like scream and laugh and giggle and whatever. You used a lot of on-camera audio, though, that I don't really think served a purpose. And I like, the mom, let's just start watching through it, actually, now that I'm just talking. And you're probably not going to hear it that well. Like, that's an awesome shot. Sorry, I'm going to get back to my audio thing. So I kind of like the use of the black, but some of it feels a little bit long to me. I think you have some very good shots. I think that's kind of a jump cut. I would try to mix that up between a wider shot or a closer shot. But I think you have some very good shots in this. And I actually really like the thought of like an intro. I wish that I want to start doing it more. I think it's a really cool way to just kind of like bring somebody in. But, and I will pause as I say this, that was a very abrupt transition for me. I know it wasn't a hard cut, but it's kind of like this standalone thing, and then it's just like, oh, a total different vibe. And I think that's maybe what I'm saying is like, it's abrupt in the vibe. It's just a very big change from like this dramatic, vibey, moody type music to this like acoustic country-ish love song. Yeah. So I'm going to get back to talking about audio. I'm going to turn this down for me. It's already turned down for you guys. I think that this song works, by the way. It's just that transition. So your audio, I think, like, you're going to see there's the use with the mom, the mother of the bride. It just doesn't really, or I think that's who it is. It doesn't really serve a purpose, and that's kind of my issue. And it's also like this. I can hear hiss and a bunch of noise, so it's kind of low quality. You can't really hear what she's saying anyway. They're not really laughing or anything like that. So I'm kind of wondering, like, why is that in there? Also, this too. The other thing too is that what you're doing when you're using the audio, so it is a quality thing, but it's exactly when you see that shot, you're going to see it in the first look with the groom, stuff like that. So it's exactly when you see that shot, that's when the audio comes in. And exactly when that shot is off screen, that's when the audio goes out. So there's there's a way to disguise it a lot better if you do want to use it. You can disguise it a lot better, so you can start it, a second or two before and fade it in, end it a second or two after, or, maybe longer, depends on what it is. So yeah, that, and then the last thing audio-wise that I want to say before we play through this again is you had those little pockets of like on-camera audio. Again, personally, I think I wouldn't have used any of them probably. But I actually saw a comment that's from Chris Pelly, and he said, I'd love to hear more speeches or ceremony or vows. And that was what I was thinking too. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's around the halfway mark. That's the first time that we hear what I think is from the reception. I don't know that because it's never shown, so that's kind of an issue in itself. But you have content, you have speeches that you can use, and you're not using them until halfway through. That should be very, like, that. They don't have to all be right away, but that should be, if you have that stuff and that's the type of film you're making, I should know that from the first, 30 seconds. So some of that stuff should be earlier on. Gilded Heart, yes, you can submit. For this session, I don't know. We'll see. I would like to be able to take somebody's from chat if I can, but I do have a limited amount of time, so we'll see. I've 3 queued up right now that I've just selected from the list. But what you can do is you can go to the pinned comment at the top where I've linked where you can submit your films, submit it. And, we do keep them around for future times that we do this. We have had to put this on pause, so we are back, not officially like every week yet. Jay and Jared are still finishing up their studio. It's been a whole construction thing, which is going to be really cool when it's done. It is very close to done, but I wanted to hop in today and just do one. So, yes, so submit your film at that link, and we might do it at another one, and we'll try to let you know if we do it at another one. And again, guys, just a reminder, priority for film reviews goes to our members. You can hit the little join button down below the video right next to subscribe. It's $5 a month, so we try to keep it really cheap for you guys. Most places, if you want a film reviewed, it's $100 per review or something like that. So I don't know. We try to do it this way, and you get priority if you're a member, and you get some other benefits as well. And mainly, it just helps out the channel and shows support for us, so we always appreciate that. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So ultimately, one of the things too that I think is, it's a tough thing. Like this, another audio. So, they bought a 5-minute highlight from you. So you have to make it 5 minutes. You made it 6 minutes and 13 seconds. I think this could be a 3-minute film. There's a lot of content in here that I don't think you need, and I don't think that's really serving you in displaying your best shots or your best editing or anything like that. Now, where that goes to is a discussion about being the professional. Also, I like that shot. That's, I don't know, just funny. Being the professional and telling people, and I think, hey, I think this would be better as this length of film or something like that. And also, kind of mixed in with that too, and one of the things I'm seeing in your shots, I know you mentioned you felt like it was better for photography. I feel like you never want to affect the day majorly, right? But I feel like you could insert yourself a little bit more, or maybe assert yourself a little bit more in getting what you want and what you need. I don't know how many weddings you've shot. I know that's something that takes a lot of time, and just getting comfortable with asking for what you need, asking for the poses you want, the angles you want, asking people to redo things like that. A lot of your filming style feels like, fly on the wall or whatever that phrase is. Letting the photographer take the lead 100% and just kind of capturing what you see. And there's nothing wrong with that. Different styles, but you kind of seem to express a dislike of that. And so I think you need to assert yourself a little bit more and think about what you want and get that. You have some good coverage of stuff. Like this, I don't think that you need to see everybody coming down. I've done it too, though. Like I've had people who had a full day, and I thought it would be a great 7-minute film or whatever, and that's what they bought. And then I'm just like, I need an extra 20 seconds. I love this shot. I love the next shot too. I said that the first time. And then also more intentionality. I do not like this, first of all. I don't like the speed up. I like that you were trying something creative. I think that's important to push yourself and try things out, but I don't think it worked there personally. But yeah, so also being assertive, but also being more intentional with your shots. So that can be in asking what you need, but it can also be in your camera movement. And that's one of the other things I noticed throughout this is you have a lot of shots, especially when you're on the gimbal, which I would recommend well, I'll get that in a second. Some of these shots are good. Some are good on the gimbal. Some are good on whatever you're on. But some you're like moving and then you kind of move the other, like this. You moved up and then you kind of came down. Either cut that off, because you shouldn't have two directions in one shot, or be more intentional. Like, this is a great shot. I wish the lighting was a little bit different, but it's intentional movement. It stays one direction, etc. So I think that is something, like, this is good too. You're doing a slow, but then look, at the end you go back up. So it's like, that's beyond. I feel like there's a certain amount, if you're shooting handheld, where you have handheld shake, right? And it will kind of sway left and right, up and down, something like that. But what you have is on a gimbal, you are clearly making a decision to pan down, and then you're kind of like coming back up. And it doesn't even look like that's what you mean to do. It looks like you're like ending the shot, and it's like, cut that tail end off. Or, you know, shoot it longer, or don't do that at all, etc. Yeah, so I think those were all the things that I really wanted to bring up. The last thing I would say, I'm just going to jump over to your reception. Again, we hear these people talking. We don't see them talking. I think that it should be captured with some video as well. And that will allow you to, you know, you don't need to show everything they say, but establish who's speaking. That's important for the edit. And then also, if you show 5 seconds of somebody talking, and maybe we hear them for 10 seconds, so you showed them half the time or whatever, it allows you, that's 5 seconds that you don't need to cover with other footage that you might just be throwing in there because you need to hit a certain length of time. So it allows you to get rid of some of your not so good shots. Not you specifically, but just like in general as a wedding filmmaker. The last thing, oh shoot, I wasn't plugged in. No. Safe, guys. Anybody else see that? The last thing is that I think you could greatly benefit from, this all looks fine. You had a unique scenario. So what I was going to say is you could greatly benefit from lighting your dance floor. Now this actually looks all right. You have this light here. This looks pretty rough. I know that you kind of had to plan for these firework things, but if that's the shot you're going for, don't put this shot in there. And also later on, you know, you're not using any lights. It's very clear. And I think that you should throw a light up, at least, probably two, that will up your shots at your reception quite a bit. It is a pretty small investment, grand scheme of things. And also be intentional about which direction you're shooting. So I don't know the room layout, of course, but I probably would not shoot this shot into the bar with the bartender in her mask. I get it. These are cool. But in going from this wide shot, oh wait, maybe we can see it. These have got to be the photographers, right? Or the DJ or something. These are not your lights. So you shot from, you know, here pointing this direction. I would shoot from like over, I mean, really what I'd like to do is shoot from here into the crowd this way. You have, you know, all that bokeh because all that depth, whatever. But I understand why you wanted to capture the firework things, if that's what you wanted. In which case I would have shot from like here, this direction, and I would have shot tight so that my frame was kind of just this white backdrop thing they have with the leaves and whatever. And then, you know, hit it at an angle so that you can see one of the fireworks. Yep. That's my thoughts on that one. So I'm going to bring up the next film. And yeah, you guys can see Jason in chat. What's up, Jason? Yes, if anybody is going to WPPI, please join us. If you have not purchased your tickets yet, you can get a discount, I believe, through our website, weddingfilm.school/WPPI. If you're on the fence, definitely come join. It is a ton of fun. We are leading two different classes while we're there. We're doing a photo walk all about handheld filmmaking. And then Jay and Jared are doing one on building systems for your business, your photo or video business. And then we'll also be having the Wedding Film Speakeasy. That was probably my highlight of the trip. Last year, we rented out this really cool speakeasy, drinks for everybody, and just a really great group of people. We had, 20, 30 people, other wedding filmmakers there. And yeah, just really great time, really great to build some community and stuff like that. So handheld is becoming a thing now. I hated it forever, and now I shoot handheld. But it's like handheld, right? In that, like, we have internal stabilization that's way better. I'm not somebody who just holds their camera. Like, I have a system so that there's more contact or more support, etc. But yeah. Okay, let's see. People in the chat right now, if you could help me out, hit that like button. I would appreciate that. That helps the video do a little bit better and let YouTube know that you guys are enjoying it. And I'm going to go over to our next film. Let me get it ready here. Next film, I don't have a whole lot of information. I wanted to do it. This is a member of ours, and I don't think we've reviewed one of his films yet, so I wanted to do that. This is Tim Moore from Tim Moore Studios. Canon 90D and a kit lens. So my guess, just based on that, Tim, is that you're probably earlier in your career, which is totally fine. I think there's value to be had for everybody, regardless of where you're at. So again, guys, in the chat, you can help share your thoughts if you would like. We appreciate that. This is definitely a community thing, not just me, not just Jay, not just Jared. It's all of us trying to build each other up and all of us getting better. I've been doing weddings for 15, 16 years. I'm still learning. I'm still changing. If you are not learning and changing, you are probably not doing weddings anymore, or anything creative for that matter. Yeah, we are not, authorities. We have a pretty good idea of what we're talking about, but I always want to hear what you guys think as well. You can disagree, agree, whatever. Real quick in the comments, let me just go through. Yeah, asserting yourself is big. You guys might have been talking to somebody else. I'm in Minnesota, not Michigan. You might have been talking to somebody else in the chat. It's very cold here, so there's that. It's gonna be 0 tomorrow. Exciting. Wayne, if I want to do more handheld, would you not get something without IBIS, like the new announced R5C that I was looking forward to? Or do I think digital image stabilization is good enough? It depends on your threshold for movement and if you're going to build out your rig or not. Look, Blackmagics don't have internal stabilization. You can still make some amazing films. You need to kit out that camera a little bit more because you need some weight. You need something that is going to help you with stabilization. If you are just holding the camera with the lens with nothing else, it is not going to look good. It is going to be very hard to make look good. Can somebody use the new Canon R5C or whatever it is and make a great wedding film? Absolutely. We are going to see some great wedding films made with it. If you're shooting in handheld, though, is there going to be, some extra thought that you need to put into the fact that you're shooting handheld and how to overcome that without internal stabilization? Yes, very much so. I have a very low threshold for movement. I do not like a lot of handheld movement. So I really like internal stabilization, but only to a point where it still looks natural. But yeah. So that is my thought on that. Let's get started on this next film. Alright, so this is gonna be more, it's all shot like in 60 and stopped down or something. A little more home video style vibe to it. Jason dabbing on fools. lot of this, so I don't watch any of these guys beforehand. So I'm going to see how this one ends up being. I might skip through it. This looks like basically just a ceremony highlight right now. So I will talk about that if that's what it ends up being. So I might skip through a little bit. This is me because I'm skipping through. And I'm demanding a lot of my computer right now and my internet, streaming and doing all this stuff. Yeah, so, I mean, we're... it doesn't show the time. Oh, yeah, 2:30. We're 2:30, and it's basically been a highlight of just the ceremony. So, you know, typically we're reviewing things that are a little more creative than this. Ooh, that's loud for me. I turned it down for you guys. So I'm going to talk through this while it plays because I think that's just going to be easier. Okay, so, you know, something like this is really hard to review. You know, from the very beginning, like, again, my guess is that you're a little bit earlier in your career. Maybe this first handful of weddings you've done or something like that. And maybe not. I could be wrong. This is your style and whatever. I think that, look, you clearly have an eye for some shots and for, you know, like your exposure is pretty good, you know, through most of these shots. Audio would help out a lot. I think understanding your camera. I know you're shooting the 90D. Oh, whoa. That's an issue. That was not on my end. That was on the video. I'm going to pause it here. Let it load a little bit more. I guess to me what I would say is this feels like you are a family member who's attending the wedding and you're just kind of shooting some random stuff. I think that a next step could be kind of similar to the other one of asserting, like, think about what you want to capture. If you envision a wedding video, what does it look like? What shots are you getting? And then just thinking through your shots a little bit more, like the establishing shots. The very first shot was very random. It was like a wheel on a door or something. I don't even know what it was. So thinking through that, thinking through the way you're editing, it's very, very linear, which is not bad, but it's not linear in a broad macro sense. It's very linear in a micro sense. Like you're showing so much of certain things. Like this is so much of just the bridal party, or just the bridesmaids, sorry. Like so much of the ceremony, where especially if you don't have audio to really help a story, like that ceremony is just brutal to sit through 2.5 minutes of a ceremony of, you know, what's kind of just you wandering with your camera. So a lot more intentionality, I think, would go a long way. Audio, if you are interested in, you know, kind of working that into your films, would help your storytelling a lot. And then, you know, getting a little more creative with the edit and switching things up a little bit. I also think that knowing, I mean, both, look, you can shoot a good film on a kit lens. I don't want you to act like that's a handicap or a crutch that you're leaning on and you can't get past it, because it is possible. I do think absolutely that adding, you know, another lens, like add the nifty 50, you know what I mean? Like it's $100 lens. It's going to give you a lot more bokeh. It's going to give you a, you know, a different focal length. It's going to give you just more types of shots that you can use. Also moving your feet a lot more, right? Getting in closer, getting in further. And that's more of that asserting yourself type thing, is going to help you mix up your shots a lot more, which in turn is going to help you mix up your editing and make more of a creative edit. Because I, you know, a lot of what I'm seeing makes me feel like you're striving for that, but just didn't have the content to do it really. And so that goes back to how you shot it, of course, but it's a mix of things. But also thinking about, like, this looks like you're shooting, like, yeah, really stop down, 60 frames per second. You're delivering a 60 frames per second. It feels very home video-ish. And yeah, like Jason's saying there, we need more focal lengths and more diversity in the shots, and then also in how they're sequenced. But of course, you can't really add a whole lot of diversity in the sequencing if you don't have diversity to start with in the actual shots. So I I think one lens, look, you can get that with one lens. You can get it with a kit lens. So don't let that stop you from doing it different for your next film. I do also think, of course, that switching that up and learning your camera a little bit better could go a long ways as well. And then, yeah, the big thing Jason said, getting a mentor. This is very hard to do. Look, we have lots of content. There are other people with lots of content on YouTube and elsewhere. There are lots of great groups, but nothing is going to accelerate your growth as a filmmaker faster than getting a mentor. Look, full disclosure, we offer mentorships. We offer it through our website. We've had some awesome people come through there and, you know, teach them just like crash course, right? Or don't go through us. We don't care. I mean, obviously we'd love to teach you, but like find somebody local who is doing work like what you want to be doing. Reach out to them, assist them for free, second shoot for them for free, then get paid. Whatever that path looks like, there are multiple ways to get there. And that would go a long way. I'm going to keep playing this while I talk through and take a sip of this. I don't feel as like the audio on this is as pertinent because it's just a classical music song, so I'm gonna turn that down for you guys. Yeah, this is kind of just the same shot over and over. Like, not only are your focal lengths not any different, you're literally standing in the same place. So again, the kit lens should zoom, I think, right? So zoom in, zoom out, and if it doesn't, move your feet, walk in, walk out. And don't zoom while filming. I wouldn't recommend that. Let's skip through this. Yeah, so a lot of what you're capturing here is just not really pertinent to video. And that's another issue too. In fact, look, I could be wrong, but I would not be surprised if you were a photographer who was trying out video and wanted to see what you could do, or working for a photographer, because what you're capturing here is basically what photographers want. A lot of what we shoot too. We overlap in many ways, but you're shooting all these posed shots that don't work for video. This is not for video. This is for photo. So you are approaching it very much in the mindset of a photographer, I think, or what people traditionally think you should, you would want to capture at a wedding, like, oh, the family photos. But for video, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really add anything. So like this is you getting creative. Now, I think the shot, hit or miss, but you're doing something different there, and I think that's important. Like, that's a good shot. She's slightly overexposed. It could be a little warmer too, but like, yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I'm not going to rewatch that one because there wasn't really like... Did my camera die again? Ayo. Man, camera died again. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm coming back. All right. Hey. I'm back. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, first off, guys, this was impromptu, so I was not super prepared, clearly. My battery was not charged at all, actually, and I have it plugged into a battery bank, but I think it was like right on the edge where it's like, if that battery bank for like 1 second stops like supplying power, it's just like, boom, we're dead. Now I have a new battery in there, so hopefully that stops happening. Yeah, Dominic, definitely shoot a wedding. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Gilded Heart. We appreciate that. Look, everybody has problems, right? Like, or things that they can change or grow in or do differently. Like, I have that too. So does Jason probably. I don't know. We're always dealing with stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. But I'm glad that you found some use out of that. So, Chris, do you take bribes? I appreciate it. Let me see if I can pull yours up here. Let me see if I have everything I need from you first. That's the biggest thing. What? Why are these all red? No. Hold on 1 second, guys. You can watch me work. All right, so Chris, I got your film and it's music bed. So yeah, you know what? Let's do it. I'd rather review somebody who is in the chat. So Chris, we're gonna do yours now, and then at the end we'll do the third one or the other one that I had. So you wrote. Beautiful wedding at Loxmont Farms in Pennsylvania with a young, amazing couple. Probably my best video to date. Ceremony was gorgeous. Beautiful river in the back. Cool. Cannons. Let me pull it up here. Anything else you want to add since you're in chat, Chris? Whoop. You didn't hear that. Nobody heard that. Yeah, anything else you want to add, Chris? Let me know. I'm going to get yours pulled up here. And I think you had the price in there too. But yeah, let's go through it. All right, let me grab my... So many windows to keep track of here. All right, so this is from Chris Pelly, who just bribed us to review his film. I'll get the levels dialed in once we start, guys. Whoa, look at that masking. Oh, double masking.
Well, we're gathered here today to witness Donald and Megan being joined in Christian marriage. And I know that they would love to extend thanks to all the family and friends that have traveled and made arrangements to be here today to witness this, as well as everyone watching online. I hear this is being live cast, which is awesome.
A classic. Whoa. Jay, you can share your thoughts too in chat. Ooh, I like that shot. Nice, really good reaction.
For those who may not know, Donnie was Megan's high school crush. And when we were in 11th grade,
so that right there, we talked about the use of natural audio. That was a really good use of that.
And he had done it in the most elaborate way I had ever seen. The entire
that's gonna be an issue for me. She should be in focus if she's talking.
And I doubt he knew it at the time, but he won Megan's heart over there because there's nothing that she loves more than attention.
We'll come back to that.
When I was 8 years old, my mom told me I was gonna have a sibling, I prayed that I would have a brother so we could do guide stuff with. We could go fishing, we could run amok, we could wrestle. And then when I finally saw him, I was incredibly disappointed. He couldn't do any of those things yet.
Switching to water.
Yeah, there you go. Go for it.
Turning my light up. I don't love that framing for the father first look, but
It's beautiful, right? All
it
of this
looks like it was
beauty,
very probably a tough
everything that we
place
put
to
together
shoot
today
at, and that
is
maybe the
actually an
photographer chose it,
expression
and you're just very
of
limited on
true
where you
inner
can be, so I
realities in your lives
understand.
and the true reality of the words that you're making. There is a solidity and a beauty.
Yeah, Jay, I'm
and
definitely going to talk
an
about
age, a seasonedness to them that is every bit as solid and beautiful as what we're seeing around us.
I really like that angle for the dances, though.
I cannot begin to say how blessed I am to have Megan as a
Overexposed.
sister.
Yeah, I'm going to talk
Even
about
though
that too.
she wanted to name
I'm
me
not pausing
Flower
it. That's what we
Butterfly.
were doing it today.
It's okay, it's okay. It shows how joyful she is and always has been.
Donnie has become a permanent addition to our little friend group, and we're so grateful for that. He has been such a fun, kind, selfless addition, and he's always down for a good time, especially if it involves dancing.
I've been thinking about your day together and the words that we're about to say. And indeed, the word that I think is so important to think about for just a minute is covenant. God is the inventor of covenant. He's the inventor of words that have meaning. And what's great about it is He's inviting us into something much larger than ourselves. To make a covenant is not an act of creativity. It's not an act of self-expression. Covenant is joining into something that's way older and bigger than any act of self-expression and creativity. And we actually did talk about this. Not that I expect you to remember right now, but we did actually talk about this.
Oh,
Right at the beginning
I
of
don't
their
know what that was.
relationship, before they had gone out, they had just reconnected. I can remember sitting in a coffee shop with Megan on a Sunday afternoon. We both had work in front of us that we had to do, but we were hunched over her phone trying to perfectly curate these texts to Donnie. Until finally, after about an hour, Donnie invited her to
I like that
join
framing.
him at another coffee shop that he was at, where he was waiting with her favorite drink.
Really good transition. Or use of music there. Cool framing.
Don and Megan, because you stated your intentions to live after God's word, and you've made your vows before God and these witnesses, by the authority invested in me as a servant of Christ, I now pronounce you husband and wife, and you may now kiss your bride.
Whoop, whoop. All right, let's see here. How do I pause? All right. This is Kodak. She's joining us now. Yeah, so I'm going to go through. Let me just turn down this volume. I'll bring it back up, and I'll just kind of play it. This was a really, really good film. Oops, what am I doing? Ooh, no copyright jazz. How do I go back? Gotta go to full screen. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, look, this was a really good video. I really like the opening. I'm kind of mixed on this mask with the text. I don't know how I feel about it. On one hand, like, it's cool, it's interesting, it feels like a little out of place for me. And especially with it, I don't mind it as much for the couple, but I do really, really like this shot. This just looks awesome. I don't know. Like, you got this, like, haze kind of. Yeah, I don't know. I just like it. It's exposed well. But yeah, so you know, you're saying I don't normally do that. Just want to change it up. I get that. Like, you see a shot or you're just like, I kind of want to try this, you know? I want to see if I can do this. So I've done that, you know, stuff like that too. So it's not like an automatic where I'm just like, oh, this is bad. So, you know, don't take it like that. All right, keeping going here. I think, so this shot, look, some people do, this shot. Some people get shots of setup. I don't really. It's not something I typically add to my wedding films. I think if it has its own sequence, it's okay. I probably wouldn't put this in there because I don't really see a whole lot else like that. I don't love including like the other vendors. I'm not against it. This, like, you gotta understand, this is a good film, and so we're gonna be a little more nitpicky, right? I think this shot, I think you have better shots. So for this to not only be the second shot that you see, but to also not really have any shots of a similar category in the film, to me, I think it could be out. Now, overall, you know, Jay kind of mentioned it. I kind of mentioned it. I think one of the biggest things that you could do to change... Sorry, I'm going to stop it because I also don't like this shot. This seems like something else, like camera-wise. Setting, something, I don't know. I don't love this shot. I like your other shot quite a bit. This shot, the other shot of him, are all much better in my opinion. And this one's kind of moving around, that wider shot. I love this framing. Okay, sorry. Anyway, what I was saying. Cell phone shot. Yeah, that's kind of what it reminds me of. And maybe it is that. But yeah. Okay. That's a really good shot too. Yeah, one of the biggest thing I think is your exposure. We kind of talked about that. So you kind of have this feel of what I would call like that light and airy, like film photography type look. I don't know if that's coming from your LUT or the way you shot it or a combination, but there are definitely a lot of shots that are overexposed. Areas that are overexposed. Sometimes, like, look, sometimes the sky is going to be blown out. It happens. But there are some shots where more important things are blown out, like the bride's skin or the dress, or you had this abundance of light in the reception area, which is really nice to have. But some of the shots look a little blown out. Some like kind of work. So you're kind of really towing that line. And so, you know, sometimes you're over it, sometimes you're under it. But one of the things that Jay mentioned that I think is also really important is your drone shots don't really match that look. And so that makes them stand out even more. Like this is like a darker, more contrasty shot of this horse. And then this actually looks fine. But yeah, it's just like overall a different look, and you know, some blown out collars there. Now let's talk about this. This is the other big thing. So one of the things that I really love about your film is you have a really, really good use of audio. Your audio, to me, I mean, this is YouTube, but it sounds clean. But there are two things I really noticed. One, you weave together a really good story from, I know ceremony was in there, I know reception was in there, and I think there was, you know, some speeches. I think there was something from the bride or groom, some letters or something like that. And then you also, you've woven a very good story from multiple sources, and it, you know, it jumps around, which is what I like. I like seeing that. It keeps me more engaged. And then you also have just a few little pockets of it, but really, really good like ambient audio that you've included, probably from on-camera audio or maybe a shotgun mic, or I don't know exactly what you're getting it from, but A, it's pretty clean, and B, it really helps you get in the moment. So I know like the car ending, you have the shot of the groom when he's like, see you later, or something like that. He's like, we're gonna leave now, bye. You also have the first time that we saw the groomsmen, I think it was, there's a little bit of background audio, so you did a really good job with that. This, however, is an issue for me. I do not like this shot. I know you said it's really small, so a really small venue, so or like reception area. This shot could have, and you have 2 shots here. The first time I'm seeing the person talking, it should be this shot. Do I like this shot better? If she was in focus, yes. But this throws me for a loop, that this is the person that we're watching talk and they are just completely out of focus. I get why, because this is your shot for the couple. But in this scenario, I would move them closer, or I would stop down a lot. I mean, you certainly have the light available to do that, so that they're both in focus. Or I would make this a much tighter shot and focus this one on just the bride and groom and leave this one for the speaker or something like that. There's a variety of ways to do it, but that, I really did not like that choice. And it's a good shot. Like, it's really good reactions. Like, I'm glad you have like if this is 4K and you're delivering 1080, I just crop in, make that on the couple or something. Like that sequencing would be better, but I think the out of focus while they're talking is really hard for me. So then there's this other thing with punch in. This other thing with your coloring, where you kind of have this overexposure thing, but then you also randomly have these shots that are very blue. Your look is not a like overly warm look or anything like that, but you do have these shots that are definitely, if you're a pretty neutral, a pretty natural look, some shots are a little warmer because the lighting maybe was a little warmer, like those prep shots of the bride sitting in their robes or whatever it was, or not bride, sorry, bridal party. But then you have a shot like this, and there's a couple more like that too, where I think like your whites are just very, very cool. And that's not wrong, right? But I think it is like, we talked about it in another film where like, look, different parts of the day can have different subtle shifts in a look, right? Because not everything goes at the same place and time and lighting, whatever. But generally you want like a cohesive look. And so it's odd to have some shots that are like a little warmer, but within reason, your general neutral look, but then these like very cool whites in some shots. Yeah, so Jay said in chat that looks like maybe you're on auto white balance. If that is what you're doing, auto white balance, a little work on the front end of learning how to use Kelvins would go a really, really long way. And yeah, so you're saying here it was shot behind a shed. So even if you're not on auto, the shed was blocking the light. So then even if you're on daylight for the bright sun, and then you come behind here, it's going to be very blue. Now that is fixable in post. So that's the thing, is I think this is not beyond repair or beyond like fixing. So I think that's something that you should be able to maybe familiarize yourself a little bit more in how to like see this and say, oh, okay, I need to warm that up because my whites are not the same as these other shots. Or, on the day of, that's when I would warm up my Kelvin, or if you're using presets, go from daylight preset to shade or cloudy preset, because that will warm it up too. Yeah, I'm curious about this. Also, did you mic? I can't tell if he was mic'd up, if the dad was mic'd up. If not, I would recommend micing them up. But yeah, that was just a weird. I like the subtle zooms there. Kind of weird framing, but like I said, I think I might know why. And I also want to say one thing. I'm getting on you about your exposure, right? This actually doesn't look that bad. I mean, this is a little blown out here. This is a little bit hotter, right? Back here, his suit. But here's the thing, and I want to be very clear. Sometimes you have to shoot a ceremony that is in bright, direct sunlight. Now, could you stop this down a little bit more? Probably. But sometimes you shoot a ceremony in direct sunlight, different, like you've got some shadows down here, right? And look, the bride and groom are both in white. Like, it's tough. So I'm being nitpicky, but know that I also understand, right? So okay. So if you didn't mic the father of the bride, I wouldn't mic the groom. I personally don't, the bride. I personally don't do that. But if you didn't mic the father of the bride, I don't know that I would use that audio. I don't even know that I would use that shot. It's kind of an odd angle. Sure, it's a good little moment, but give it to him in a doc edit or something. I do think that everything that goes in your highlight film should be intentional and should drive your story forward. And I just don't know, like, without the audio and kind of weird framing, I would have maybe cut that. I really like that shot. The wider shot of dancing, though, looks a little cooler than that shot. They don't look the same white balance. I like the way you've paced this edit, or pacing, but also just like you're back and forth. It's very non-linear, and I like that. Also, dang, yeah. So this is still throwing me for a loop, but good audio for how far away she's holding that mic. Jeez. One thought, you had a really good transition of music, or good use of the ramp up in the music, and I think that this speech could have played really well with that too, because it's a transition into dancing and it's more upbeat, and that's kind of what I was expecting here, especially too because the music kind of fades low. I thought you were going to bring in a more amped up part of the song or a new song or something, and you didn't, which is fine, but you could kind of yeah, I don't know, that could have flowed well. This is a very cool whites and blown out shot. White suits are tough though, to be fair. I like that lighting. That's a really tough shot to do, especially if, the bride in white in direct sunlight, the groom in white, or kind of tan white, whatever, in shade. Okay, so this one, the whites seem a little cooler, a little more teal. Love that. I also really love your framing of, I think it's this shot. I don't know, it's hard to tell if it's totally in focus the whole time, but like totally works, and I just really like the framing. Some more drone, and the ramp up. This was really, really well done. Got a bunch of dancing footage. Also really nice for you, like you didn't really need to bring lights because, that place is lit up. Yeah, it's Rob, yeah, so much white going on. Yeah, it's just like a very bright, like this is like middle of the day, it seems like. Like that, I really like that use of audio. But let's look at these two. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay. I want to look at a couple shots here. Sorry, I went too far back. Okay. This. A little overexposed in my opinion. His collar is losing information. But your skin looks nice. Like, I don't know, it could be a tiny bit warmer, maybe a little more saturated. It's hard, like, we're on YouTube, right? Let's be real. But it's not bad or anything like that. And then, but it's kind of like pick your lane, because you go from that to that. And it's a very, very different look. Now, first, this is blown out. This seems also like a spur of the moment capture, right? Where it's just like, oh, they're running away saying something funny, I want to throw it in there. So I get that aspect. But your skin looks way warmer here. It was also sunset, so I get it. But I think there's a little more like leveling you could do in your white balance that would help you. And this is, smaller stuff. But that's, when you're making better films, you're not taking leaps and bounds probably in your progress, your small steps. So, and then this again, back to very blue, probably maybe the most blue of those 3 shots. So it's just very different. Also, why do this is not on you, but why do a sparkler exit in the middle of the day? It doesn't seem to make sense, but whatever. That's a cool shot. Heck yeah, man. I love hearing that. The nice thing is like one of the things that I love, and I've said this many times, I love when people submit a film and then submit another. Like, I love seeing people take to heart exactly what we say and being like, hey, remember you were telling me about my white balance? Well, I took a day. I just messed around with Kelvin white balance, all day long, and I just really wanted to nail it, and that's what I really focused on this, and here's my next film. And seeing actual progress, that means the world to me and to Jay and to Jared. Like, that's why we do this. We're busy guys. We've got our own companies. We each have multiple companies, I think, that we're involved in stuff, and then Wedding Film School. And so getting to, we don't want to do this stuff if nobody's going to listen, nobody's going to see anything, whatever, right? So we love seeing that. So I would definitely encourage you, submit another film, in a month or, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But we want to see that. And then, reminder everybody, I know Chris bribed us to review his film live, but that's because this was impromptu. Typically, we don't do that. Priority goes to our members. So if you are not a member already, we'd love to have you. First and foremost, it just helps support this channel, shows your support. We keep it as cheap as we can for you guys. The first tier of membership is $4.99, not $499. $4.99, so just under $5. No commitment, but you do get priority in getting your films reviewed. You do get access to a private Facebook group with more access to me and Jay and Jared. You get some cool little icons and stuff like that for chat, and you get some other things as well. It's all listed there. Hit the little join button down below, and you can see all of that. We would appreciate it. We'd also appreciate it if you hit the like button. Everybody who's in chat right now, if you haven't already, please do that for us. We appreciate that. We reviewed 3 films today, and I was on a timeline, and I probably don't have time for another one. But what I will do, we've got a handful of people. We've got, 20-something people in here probably. Let's do a Q&A. Anybody got any questions? You got me here. Jay's here, I believe. I probably don't have time to review another film, but yeah, we can just chat. We can just hang. I can drink water. I can check my phone that I've been avoiding for the last 2 hours. I released a film pretty recently that I love. It was really cool. A lot of fun. A really creative intro for me, which I really liked. So that was fun. But yeah, I'll give you guys another minute or two if anybody has any questions or things that they're like, oh, what's your opinion on this new camera or whatever. I'll let you know my thoughts. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. But I probably got another little while here if you guys got any questions. And I am going to look at my messages from Jason. Let's see what he said. Dun, da, da, da. Gotta go Slack. Better images, more cinematic. That's really hard to say because there's no unfortunately in this world, I think, or in the wedding video world, cinematic is kind of just like a trigger word that doesn't really mean anything anymore. So yeah, use cinema mode. So yeah, maybe more cinematic. Maybe you're gonna have to elaborate what you mean by that. Better images. I think one of the big things that I see is look, there's small stuff you gotta know big stuff you gotta know your camera, understanding white balance, exposure, not doing too much movement. Everybody's like, oh my god, I love my gimbal, and it's yo, You don't need a gimbal. Like, I use a gimbal for some shots, but I don't think everybody needs to be on a gimbal all day long. Like, that being on a gimbal all day long, in my opinion, hurts you as a wedding filmmaker, or hurts most people as a wedding filmmaker. That's what I'll say. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And a lot of the people who think they aren't hurt and that they are making the best films they can when they're on a gimbal all day probably aren't. But one of the big things that I think that a lot of people don't do, I mean, plenty of people do, but that more people could do is, I mentioned it earlier, bring lights to your reception. That will help your reception images for light your speeches, light your dance floor, and that will bring those images way, way up. And I think that's a big difference, because I think you could really understand your film and get some good lighting, get some good sunset lighting, good prep lighting, and then you have this, first dance footage that's like washed out purple lighting, and you're just like, man, this does not match the level of the rest of my film. And we've reviewed some films like that too. And then sometimes we tell them, hey, you should bring a light, and then they do, and then their stuff looks way better. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you can have a shallow depth of field. I think that's what a lot of people are talking about. So that's opening up your lens, so a smaller or a lower, f-stop, so 1.8, 2.0, but you don't need that necessarily. And it's more about composition and lighting within your frame and movement and stuff like that. Bruno, what's up? Love to hear your opinion on the difference between working to please your clients versus working to show off to other videographers. Often I make choices that make my video less cool, but I know my clients will love it. Okay, look. I think that everything that is ever said ever in the history of the wedding film community, as far as like critique or film reviews or anything like that, is trumped by the statement of, if you are charging good money, getting hired consistently, and your clients love their film and their experience, then who gives a fuck what I think? Like, it doesn't matter, right? You have your business. If things are going good, things are going good. Doesn't mean you can't get better, but let's be real, right? I'm not paying your bills. Showing off to your, me making a film that I want to do some cool, shit in it because I want some, I want like some of my favorite wedding filmmakers to notice me and give me a pat on the back. They're not paying my bills either, right? And I love those guys. I both as people and as filmmakers and as creatives and as artists, like I love Henry Martins. I love, Sculpting with Time, Alex. I love Jay and Jared. Like, there's a bunch of awesome people. But ultimately, they're not paying my bills, right? So that is kind of the umbrella stance there. But I do think that there is this in-between thing, too, where as creatives, look, yes, I want to please my couple. No, I shouldn't care about showing off for other videographers. But there's this in-between of I want to push myself creatively, and it's almost like I want to show off for me. Like, I want to try something new. I want to see what I can do. And I also want to have a level of, I want my clients to have a level of trust in me that allows me to do that. So I think there is an in-between there, and it's kind of hard to like put words exactly to it, but I think everybody who is an artist and a creative, and probably everybody who does this, kind of knows what I'm talking about too. It does take being assertive to some extent. It does take turning away weddings that aren't for you to some extent. But yeah, I think there's that in-between. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that, Bruno. I don't know. That's kind of my gut reaction. How am I? I'm doing good. You're just starting out. What light do you recommend for somebody on a budget? Okay, Jay could probably hop in. Oh yeah, he already did. So yeah, the Aperture 60X, people love that. What about the Jay, maybe you could link it. Is it like the Nanlite Forza? We looked at it at WPPI last year. I thought that thing was cool. I haven't used it, granted, at a wedding, but it seemed pretty sweet and pretty affordable. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. The define budget, Victor. Like, if you're like, I want $100, I don't know. I've used lights like that at points in my career, but investing the right amount of money is also important. I don't know. Hard to say. Yeah, I think that's it. Namlight Forza something. That was a really good light too. It might have been a little cheaper than the 60X. Obviously pros and cons to each, but yeah, so only daylight bounce. That's the big thing. Like this, I have a clothespin. I was eating chips. I don't know I'm holding it, but I'm just going to keep doing it. Okay, Bruno, for example, I can make my highlights way cooler in a show-off sense if I made them, for example, 3 minutes long and focus more on beauty shots. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was saying. Like, I think there's this in between though too, where it's like, look, yeah, you could cut together a way cooler 3-minute film instead of a 7-minute film, but if you're making way more money for a 7-minute film, and it is still up to your standards, that's the big thing. Because I think there are some weddings where they would want to hire me for a 7-minute film, or maybe more or whatever, and I'm just like, look, this wedding does not fit a 7-minute film. It just, like, there's a point where I think you can do that and you can say, hey, I probably would have liked this better as a 3-minute film. It would be cooler, but I'm also a business and I made significantly more money to make it a 7-minute film or whatever, where you can do that, but you aren't like just stuffing it where it's like, really it is only a 3-minute film, but you're just stuffing an extra 4 minutes in there that's pointless and not very good shots. The nice thing is for people who have been doing this longer, like, the difference between my not as great shots that don't make the cut and my favorite shot is not probably huge. Like, obviously there's some that are out of focus or blown out or whatever, and those are like just trash. But like the things that like could make the cut but don't, they're not like, it's not like a different level of filmmaking. Whereas I think if you're newer, what will happen is you have some really, really good shots and you have some really not so good shots. And so when you're adding all that together, it takes down the whole level of your film. I think that as somebody more experienced, you can add in more and make it a longer film, and it doesn't detract as much, but it still could work better as a 3-minute film. So, oops, did that just come undone? Yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of hard, right? It's just hard to like, it's hard to navigate because we are artists and we have a creative itch that we want to scratch. We are a community and we want to learn and grow and show off for each other, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we're also a business and we want and need to make money. Gilded, you mentioned work quality and scaling your prices by $500 a step. I've had a hard time knowing if I'm worth what I charge. $21.80 now. There's times I feel I'm not worth that price tag. I would try, and it's very, very hard, I would try to take the emotional side out of that. If you are getting inquiries and booking a reasonable percentage of those inquiries, which I think we've talked about it on the podcast, I want to say we were aiming for like 10% booking rate or something, then look, imposter syndrome is a real thing in any creative industry. Feeling like you are not good enough, comparing yourself to others. And a lot of people deal with that, and you are not alone in that. And so I think it's important to remove the emotional side and make it strictly a number thing. Look at the bookings. If you are booked, you are worth it to people. If you are getting the inquiries and the booking rate that you want and that you need, you are worth it to people. If you're not getting enough inquiries, doesn't mean you're not worth it. Could mean something else. If you're not getting a booking rate that you want, doesn't mean you're not worth it. Could be something else. It could be that too. I mean, it could be, hey, you're charging more than your market can handle. You're charging more than the films that you're putting out there are worth. But what I will say is that a lot of your value is not, or your value is not entirely tied up in the quality of the work you do. There are people who do work that is phenomenal and just can't figure out how to run a business and make the money, charge the rates that they need to, because there's a lot of variables that go into that. And the flip side, there's people whose work is just fine, but they make good money and they charge good rates because they've got the other variables lined up. So there's a lot to it. Under $400, Victor. The Forza might be under 400. I don't know. Top of my head, I don't know a lot of the pricing. So yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry. Maybe Jay can chime in. Ooh, focus. That's what happens when I look down. Now I gotta get really close. There we go. Okay. Could you give some tips that you have learned filming as one person a wedding? I do not film weddings solo. I know plenty of people who do. I personally feel like I'm delivering a worse product if I don't have a second shooter. That's not true entirely. But for me and the way that I like to be, I like to have somebody else there. I just actually shot an elopement that was solo shot, and I love the film. So it's something that I'm considering branching out into a little bit more, shooting solo, to rearrange some of my pricing and stuff like that. But yeah, up to this point, I'm probably not the person to talk to for solo shooting because I don't do too much of it. The other thing, Bruno, that you can do always is, try to sell them on a teaser film or a 7-minute edit and a 3-minute edit. I don't know. Could be worth it. Like a lot of my longer films, I don't really make public. I like that people will pay more for me to do them, but it might be something where they do a teaser film too, and then that's what I make public, because I don't know. Forever I did like 8-minute films, 7-minute films, something like that, and then I started doing 3.5-minute films, or 7-minute films, and I just really like the 3.5 minutes way better. So, but it's personal tastes, and the other thing too is your clients all have personal taste, right? There are people who literally, no matter how much you could give them as a selling point, they will not hire you because they want an 8-minute film. They want a 13-minute film. That is what they want. And that's fine. Everybody has personal preference. And not everything that you make has to be public, right? Not everything you make has to go on your website. I have like 4 films on my website, or like 6. I have a lot of films on YouTube. I have plenty of films on YouTube that are private because I'm just like, look, I'm glad I got to do the wedding. It was fun. I think the film is great. I think it's exactly what the couple wanted. But, for one reason or another, it's just not the type of wedding that I'm trying to do in and out. Put the work forward in public that you want to be hired for. And yeah, everybody has a different style too. Like I know people who do like even Henry Martin's amazing filmmaker, awesome guy, really helped expand I think what wedding films can be. And now he's kind of trying to branch into longer form, like 30-minute type feature edits. Now he's doing it with his own spin and he's making them look amazing. But everybody wants to do that because like there's a lot of variables there. What does your client want? What do you make money on? What do you want to do? That's important. Because if you don't do what you want to do, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to stop doing weddings in 3 years or something because you're going to hate it, So what do you want to work on? Whew. Yeah, actually, good point. Bernardo, we have a behind-the-scenes videos. We have lots of them. You guys should all check them out. And one of them is about solo filmmaking, so watch that. I'm talking too much. I'm starting to get a sore throat. Bernardo, that is not solo. That one's me. It is newer than that BTS. There is a newer one that Jared did. He's the tall guy with the beard. And I don't remember the couple or exactly when it was, but it was newer than the BTS with Sarah and Francis because that was one of my weddings. Vision Wave Weddings, what's up? Thanks so much for becoming a member. We appreciate it. Guys, members get priority in getting their films reviewed. Access to a private Facebook group if you want to join it. Cool little badges. Other stuff that I can't remember, sorry, but it starts at $5 a month. So there are more tiers there. Hit the little join button down below. You're not locked in, but also first and foremost, it just supports the channel. So we appreciate that, and we love the community that we've built here. Yeah, we appreciate that. Thanks so much. Bruno, one shooter tip: make sure you know how to set up multicams quickly. Yeah. There's a lot of like forethought that needs to go into like your process and your equipment. That's one of the big things that you'll actually learn in Jared's video. Like just seeing his equipment and how mobile he is really, really important. Because look, maybe you're at a wedding where you have tons of time and it happens, but flip side, There are weddings where I have had myself and 2 other people there, and I have barely been set up for the ceremony because of how, chaotic the day was and things got behind and whatever. Like, weddings can be whatever. We all know that. So, go-to lens on a wedding. I think it's really hard to be only on one lens. There are people who will tell you to shoot, if you're going to do one lens, to do something like a 24-70, kind of in that range. I think that can be good. I don't really like that. I don't know. Like, the way that I shoot, I really love negative space and wide shots, and so I think that, and other shots too, but like, I really love those. I think those are kind of a staple to my look, and so I don't think there's really one lens that can shoot for me. I would say the majority of my shots are on the Sony 55 1.8, or I think it's a 1.8. So something like that, like a 50 is always a pretty, 50-ish is always a pretty solid lens. But even that would be hard to shoot all day on it, right? Or you're shooting a Catholic ceremony and it's a super long aisle and you have to be at the back. 50 is not going to cut it. 24-70 is not going to cut it. So, hard to say. Cool. All right, guys. I think I'm going to end the stream. Thank you so much for watching. We reviewed 3 wedding films today. If you have not submitted, submit at the link that is up at the top. Probably this direction, I think. I don't know. Top of the chat, pinned to the top. Also, if you want to become a member, we'd appreciate that. You get priority in getting your films reviewed. Thank you so much, everybody who stopped in and commented, and for just being a part of the family here at Wedding Film School. If you are going to WPPI in like a month or so, let us know. We would love to have you. We have a wedding film speakeasy, which is just a night out at this really cool cocktail lounge that we host. We also have 2 classes that we're teaching. I'll be teaching a handheld filmmaking class, like a very hands-on type photo walk type class, and then Jay and Jared will be there too. And Jay and Jared are teaching a systems to build your business, or to scale your business, sorry. Which is, if you are looking to build teams and stuff like that, they are the people to go to. So going to be some really cool stuff there. If you are contemplating going, but you haven't bought your tickets yet, or you're thinking about it, we can get you a discount. Go to our website, weddingfilm.school/WPPI, and there's more information there on all the events and a discount code to save you, it's like $50 or something like that on the event pass. We'd love to see you, so get in touch if you will be there. And I think that's it. Thank you guys so much, and we will be trying to do this a little bit more often, and get back on a schedule. And so we'll see you in the next stream, next video, stuff like that. All right, peace out. See ya.